Where are the low value men? Like, what are all the low value men up to during these trying times? Because the high value men, I know they're around. They won't shut the fuck up. Low value men, I have not heard a word out of. I'm starting to think I'm on their side. I think I want one of those. I want a low value man. They don't make podcasts. I haven't seen one low value man make a podcast. Do they not know how to use microphones? Maybe that's a good thing. That's hot. All right, I've never seen a man use a microphone for good.
Until now, everybody buckle up. It's low value mail time with your host, Danny Polishchuk. Oh, what's happening, everybody? Welcome back to an all-new episode of a Low Value Mail on this Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, in the year of our Lord. I am your host, Danny Polishchuk. Shout out to all the low-value males and the negative value males. That's a wrong show for this. But, and the scrotes especially. Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a banger for you tonight. It is episode 67 of Low Value Mail. Oh, where has the time gone? I saw someone in the chat saying you'd like some elevator music for the beginning little silent part. By the way, just Human Organic knows they're right, but the reason I have that is because I get like age restricted instantly because she says the F word within the first 7 seconds. You can determine what F word that is, but she says it, so that's why I do that little intro, because I didn't always do that. But anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. Joining us shortly, our guest tonight, Isaac Weishaupt. He's the host of Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture podcast, as well as the author of 9 books. He's been studying the occult and presenting theories about symbolism found in pop culture since 2011. He's been a featured guest on Coast to Coast AM, Tinfoil Hat, Sirius XM, and many other shows. And he's going to be here with us very shortly. We're gonna talk about some shit. But before I bring him on, as always, just a little bit of housekeeping. Did anybody get that Boondocks Saints reference? Anybody? If one of you got it, then it was worth it. Anyways, as always, please, if you are watching or listening, just like and subscribe, do all that stuff. Leave a review if you're listening over on Spotify. Also, for the Spotify listeners, you may notice, or not even just Spotify, for everybody who's just listens to this as a podcast, you may have noticed recently that there are some ads on the show. Literally, they don't even cover the cost of my 800 number. So don't get your panties in a bunch too much. But if you don't want to listen, you want the ad-free experience, sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/lowvaluemail, or you can become a scrote, just join the channel, whatever you like, and that way you can support what I do, help me get all these badass guests, do all this stuff, and, get ad-free and all sorts of other stuff. So anyways, and after the show, as always, we will have our after show stream at 11 p.m. It's, if you haven't caught it recently, I changed it up. It's now a public stream, but only the supporters of the show, the patrons, etc., are able. I'll make you a mod on the stream. So if you notice all these mods, those are all people who support the show, and then you're able to drop links, and we'll watch your links. And there's a phone number if you want to call in. All that stuff. It's a good time. We've been having a good time on those after shows. Getting copyright claims out the fucking ass, but it's fine. But that's why I'm doing it. So it's a separate stream. So if you see on my channel, it's already queued up starting at 11 p.m. This is going to end, and you can just hop right on over there, and we'll start at 11 p.m. In related news, I got a defamation notice today from Klaus Schwab. I don't know if it was literally from him, but episode 59, if you caught, of Low Value Mail with Johnny Vedmore, we were talking about Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. And today I received from YouTube, I appealed it and lost, a defamation notice. I defamed Klaus Schwab and I defamed the World Economic Forum. And for that, I am certainly on all kinds of lists. Shout out to Fur Pineda. Would you ever go on Revenge of the Sis? I've been on Revenge of. They're like my boys. I've been on them. They're that show multiple times. I have been on there many times. Yes. So yes, the answer is that. Shout out to Fur Pineda. Appreciate it. But anyways, yes, I got a defamation notice. Normally, you just get a copyright claim or whatever, or they'll say. One time I watched we watched something from like a Dazen, whatever, like one of those YouTuber fights, and they just blocked the whole thing. But this is different. They only blocked it in 5 countries. 5 European five fine European nations. I don't have it queued up, but let's see what my the countries that they banned me in were. I can't see it. It was all the loser countries, all the ones that are. Oh, here we go. YouTube video block, defamation complaint. France, Germany, Italy, Spain, United Kingdom. You can no longer watch any of that episode. They didn't even block a portion of it. That entire episode is now no longer available to watch on YouTube. You can check it out on Rumble. By the way, shout out to everybody who's watching over on Rumble. Right now, all 30 of you or whatever. Shout out to you all. Episode 59 with Johnny Vedmore. You can watch it. But anyway, so Klaus Schwab, this guy's like a meme at this point, and he's putting out defamation notices. I don't even think we said anything that crazy. Literally, Johnny Vedmore is an investigative journalist. He was just talking about all the shit he's investigating about Klaus Schwab. And then now I'm getting the old defamation notice. I probably can't set foot in Switzerland ever. Sucks, but I do it for us. No, I don't. It's all good. At least I didn't get my channel taken down, although that's realistically what's going to come next. So I guess subscribe to me over on Rumble or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. It is funny to get a defamation notice from Klaus Schwab. You're like, this guy gets shit on the internet literally nonstop. Where you can give a defamation notice to every fucking person who does this. All right, so a little more housekeeping, then we're going to get the show started next week. Next week's guest is Sam Tripoli. I'm sure many of you know him. Many of you love him. He will be joining us next week. I'm very excited for that. Also, no Bathhouse tomorrow, unfortunately. You can go watch last week's episode with the hilarious Mike Ward, Richie Redding, and my fucking brain's mush. There's someone else. I can't remember who else was on it, but I apologize to them because I'm sure they were very good. But Christoph Jean was also on there. Yep. Go watch that. But yeah, no show tomorrow. I will be at Citi Field watching The Dead. So if you're there, come say hi, because that's where I will be. And come say hi. I will probably be high. Not rip Bathhouse. We'll be back next week with the Bathhouse, so don't worry about that. Also, if you live in Poughkeepsie or near Poughkeepsie, New York, July 7th, I'll be headlining at Laugh It Up Comedy Club. And I'm coming back to my hometown, Burlington, Ontario, August 11th and 12th. I will be headlining the Yuck Yucks. It just feels insanely Canadian, that whole thing. But I'm going to be home visiting some family. They opened a club in Burlington. It's down the street from where they live. It just lines up perfectly. So if you want to come see me do some stand-up, I think it's the only time I've ever done stand-up in my hometown, which is crazy to say. I've been doing stand-up for almost 15 years. I don't think I've ever done comedy in... Actually, no, I did comedy at Comedy Club 54 a couple times. So that's a lie. That is a lie. But if you live in Burlington, Ontario, or Hamilton, or anywhere in the area, come check it out. It's going to be fun. August 11th, 12th, one show each night. And one last thing. So I'm kind of toying with this idea. I'm going to put it up to a vote for everybody so you can vote. I don't know where I'll put the vote. I'll probably put the vote in many places. I'm considering moving the time of this show, at least maybe like for the summer temporarily. I don't know, to an earlier time on Tuesdays. I know that for some people you're like, I got to work, but for some people they don't got to work. For some people that's great for them. But I was just thinking, because it really is fucking me over doing this at night for stand-up. I have all these shows that I have to turn down because I can't do them because they're on Tuesday nights because I'm doing this. Not that I don't love doing this. I do love doing this, but I'm wondering if I can maybe have my cake and eat it too and do this earlier. So maybe I'm thinking maybe for the month of July, we'll do something like an earlier start time. See how that goes. Maybe it's a total flop, and then we'll go back to this. I don't know. Maybe some of you are super opposed to it. Some of you don't care. That will be determined in the future. But anyways, I'm just planting the seed, as they say in the world of marketing. All right. Let us get to our guest and to our show. Isaac Weishaupt. One moment, please. One moment, please. There he is. Sorry, 1 second, sir. I do everything. Oh, where the fuck is this? There we go. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go. Got to move this over here and that. And there we go. Isaac, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Danny?
Welcome to Low Value Mail. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you very much. We got a exciting show. I'm looking forward to this. I've been watching a bunch of your podcasts. I've been kind of perusing a lot of the stuff you do, and I'm looking forward to it. So I guess before we get started, tell people a little about yourself who might not know who you are.
Yeah, definitely. So I started this journey of trying to understand the occult and as it relates to the realm of conspiracies. For many years, I started back in 2011, taking it real serious with a blog. And over the years, I've written books and ran the podcast. I've been on a ton of shows. You said Sam Tripoli is going to do your show. That's my man. He's over there at Tinfoil Hat, right?
Yeah.
So shout out Sam Tripoli. But I've done a ton of shows, and my perspective, I don't really fit into this sort of truth or box entirely, because my worldview, and I try to relay this in my podcast and in my books, but I don't know if, a lot of people pick up on the show and they're new and they think they know who I am. I have a Christian background, but I also am very open-minded to a lot of things that are not anti-Christian, but considered heretical by I'm Greek Orthodox, right? There's a lot of things that I struggle with trying to understand what the truth is. For example, when we talk about aliens and UFOs and that kind of thing, and the New Age, I've read Father Seraphim Rose's book, who was an Orthodox monk, and he kind of goes through all the ideas of how entertainment influences and tries to create this false reality using aliens and the occult and stuff like that. So I read that stuff. I present the information. I am not the guy who's going to tell you, no, this is right and this is wrong, and you got to follow this path for you, because I'm still trying to understand it as well. And that's kind of what my journey's been since 2011, of taking this really serious and trying to, see how this fits into the larger picture spiritually and globally and all that kind of stuff.
Cool. And so, because we were talking earlier, and I don't know, because I was asking you how to pronounce your name. This wasn't even going to be a question of mine, but then you were like, that's actually not my name.
Right. Yeah. So let me.
Well, you just said because we'll talk about this on the show. I'm not like, I don't want to have some big gotcha.
Yeah.
But you're
no.
But yeah.
Okay,
I was just actually, you kind of made me curious about that because why specifically, I guess.
Right. So, okay. So again, let's go a little bit into the background of who I am. I was going to college to be an engineer, and I had a 2-year break between getting my bachelor's done and going to grad school. I started the blog IlluminatiWatcher.com, and it talked about all these different ideas and theories and such, right? And this is back in 2011. And I would say it was months after I started the blog, I had a radio show out of Oklahoma contact me, and they said, hey, we want to have you as a guest to talk about some of these ideas you present on your blog. I said, that sounds great. Let's do it. And they said, what's your name? And I was like, oh crap, I don't have a name, because I didn't really sign.
You were smart enough. Yeah. And you're probably smart enough to be like, I don't know. If I want to have a normal thing, I don't need to like.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'm a very sort of like, I live 2 lives here now is what's going on. And I said, okay, let me figure out an alias, because the conspiracy world is a seedy subculture sometimes.
Yeah.
And I chose the name based upon I and W, the initials for the blog, as well as the last name Weishaupt, which is the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt. And
okay.
In hindsight, terrible and the dumbest shit I ever did, because it was like, now everyone's like, oh, he's in the Illuminati, he's a disinformation agent. And I'm just like, oh, bro, yes, I get that. So, but it's too late, right?
Too late. Yeah, now you're just like, whatever, this is what it is.
So every show I got to explain it. So
yeah. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that deep of. I didn't go that deep. So I did not get there. But maybe some people who watch do. But so. How have you've been in this for a while, so that's like what, 12 years. How have you seen the whole world, like conspiracies? Because I was always like a casual kind of like interest, like, I always like in my car I would like listen to Coast to Coast and stuff. I wasn't like super into it, but they used to seem, I mean, I always talk about it with my Ryan, but like conspiracy theories just seem so fun, and then they became in the last like 6 years like basically around Trump like super life and death serious kind of stuff. You know,
Right.
like it used to be like
Yes.
just like fun stuff. It was like fun. You just talk about stuff and you're like, no consequences to any of this. Right. But so how have you noticed it's like kind of how different it's become since you kind of started?
So I can tell you're very tuned into these ideas because that's exactly what's happened. Because when I started doing this, taking it serious, 12 years ago, it was a very fun escapism thing. It was very interesting to me. It was intriguing to watch shows like Ancient Aliens and say, wow, that's, you learn something. It makes you question things. And sometimes it's BS, sometimes it's not. And that's how all conspiracies were for a long time. And then around 2016, and this is a whole, we could talk about this for 2 hours. I have my own theory about what happened, and I think that there was a psyop that co-opted the conspiracy movement because, as we've all seen, there's elements of truth in the conspiracy theory world. That doesn't mean everything they say is true, but that certainly means that everything they say isn't wrong.
Exactly.
And
yeah, there's some things.
It got politicized, and that drives me nuts because I'm a very I love everybody, and I hate to see certain people get sort of pushed to the side or marginalized and things like that. So I hate how it took this political angle. In fact, that's why you can see my shirt. It has my old podcast name and logo, and I changed it since then because there's such a stigma, and it's this really dangerous term now. So I changed the name to Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture, which is actually more appropriate for what I do because I analyze film and I get into topical things, but I very, very rarely talk politics because it's just such a divisive thing, and everyone kind of makes their stand, and you're not going to change people's minds. And I just want everybody to get just get
and
along,
like
you know what I mean?
minus like the JFK thing, like for the most part, it wasn't super political, like conspiracies in general. Like some of them were, but JFK was probably like the main one, but that wasn't even partisan. That was just like, yeah, the CIA killed him. It was just like the government killed him or whatever. It wasn't like one party was attacking him because he was the opposite party. It was like from within. So you said the PSYOP. Why do you think? What's the kind of theory there?
Well, I'll give you one piece.
Only because I have a similar thought to that. So I'd like
to.
You probably know a lot more about this than I do. So
there's okay. I'll give you one sort of supporting piece of evidence to back this claim up. If you look, there's a thing called in Indonesia. There's a thing they called the Jakarta method, where some of the intelligence agencies from America went and I wasn't prepared to talk this, so maybe a couple details are wrong.
It's fine, whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, but the idea is that we interfered with this Indonesian election, and what they were doing was they were trying to elect these sort of, I don't know, quasi-communist, liberal, socialist government people. And, our intelligence agencies, they hate that more than anything on the planet. So we went over there and started this disinformation campaign. We showed them how to do a disinformation campaign. And that and this is, I don't even know how many years ago, long time ago. And this disinformation campaign was co-opted by the sort of fascist right-wing side of the political spectrum over in Indonesia. And what they did was they demonized the Socialist Party and made up stories about how they were, I'm not going to use the wrong term to get you kicked off here, but they were messing around with kids and stuff like that. It was almost verbatim as to, some of the ideas that we saw from the Q movement stuff. And that's not to dismiss some of the Q things. Again, like,
doesn't that guy live in Indonesia or somewhere? Where does that guy live? Where do they say he lives?
I don't know where he lives. The 4chan guy,
the 4chan dude. Yeah,
I don't know where he lives.
I thought he was somewhere in Asia or something like that.
There's just a lot of strange things going on with that whole movement that makes me just, I don't know, it just makes you question everything that happened with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're really into, because we were talking about like before, kind of when we were arranging this, and you were like, you want to talk about like UFOs and aliens, and then the occult, which I kind of want, because UFOs and aliens obviously tie together. How does the occult tie into those two, or is that just kind of somewhat unrelated, but just area of interest?
So the term occult is a Latin term for hidden. A lot of people get confused when we talk about the occult. They think we're talking about cults like Waco, Texas, or whatever, right? No, we're talking about an understanding of reality and a sort of a worldview slash religion slash spirituality. And again, just to reemphasize, I don't demonize the occult or people that practice the stuff, but I do study it. And I see and you'll find out there's a lot of overlap in the realm of the occult and aliens slash UFOs. And that's what I wrote 2 books on this subject: Aliens, UFOs, and the Occult. Use Your Illusion 1 and Use Your Illusion 2, because it's a concept, years ago, in I think it was around 2017, 2018. I'd already written a couple books that talked about aliens a little bit, but back then I said, look, I'm going to write an entire like 2-book set talking about this because I see that as the next big thing coming. And I was actually halfway done writing the first one when the disclosure in March 2020 happened, when the Pentagon came out and confirmed those videos. And I thought, okay, well, it's really going to heat up now. And the
videos that you're referencing, what is that, from the fighter pilots?
Yes.
That's the one
like
from
the Tic Tac and
the Tic Tac from their like cockpit where they're like, what the hell was that kind of thing? And I've never seen, yeah. Okay.
And what we're talking about is a different understanding of reality, and it's a radical different version of reality than what everyone's used to. And you have to understand that a lot of these ideas presented and embraced by the occult over, I don't know, hundreds of years are now manifesting into reality. And I'll try to sort of explain that, because aliens, it's not a new phenomenon. This is something that's, you watch Ancient Aliens and all this stuff. It's apparently something that's going on for a long time. There's a mental component to this alien agenda and this understanding of what they're now calling the phenomenon, a sort of psychic connection that can be had. And occultists and when I say occult, we're talking about ritual magic, which isn't stage magic. We're not talking about
we're not talking about like David Blaine.
Yeah, we're not talking about David Blaine. We're talking about
like casting societies, spells? like the Bilderberg stuff. Like, are you saying that there's? Yeah, go ahead.
Harry Potter, right? Like,
okay.
That's basically ritual magic, is what Harry Potter's doing,
right?
Causing change in conformity with the will. It's Harry Potter would think something up, and he would do a certain invocation and use his wand to create a new reality, or cause changes in reality. And that's the short version of what we're talking about, is people who genuinely buy into these kinds of ideas of alchemy and ritual magic and all those things. There's an element of channeling entities from another dimension, which is exactly what I believe the aliens are, is interdimensional as opposed to extraterrestrial.
Okay. And so you obviously, but like, did you see the Las Vegas thing recently?
Yes.
The family in Las Vegas. So because that was one of the things where I always wish, you're like, man, like, why can't you just pull out your phone and film these things? Obviously, is probably what every person says. But the way that their story was set up, I was just like, seems very believable. Like, all the moving parts and how they all seem to align. If people don't know, like, basically in Las Vegas, there was like this cop had his body cam, and then he sees this thing in the sky, and then this family calls it in like immediately. And then he's the one who goes to see them, being like, because he's like, yeah, I saw that too. And they're like, there are these 8 to 10 foot tall things in our backyard, and like, there's a whole thing, but then they're all gone, and there's not even a trace of them. But for them to call that in, like, the moment that they see this flash in the sky, expecting like what, just for them to get 15 minutes of fame, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen all the videos on TikTok of people trying to say, okay, well, here's the aliens and there's the aliens, and it's, it's very fuzzy. You really can't tell what's going on with the video. The family, they seem pretty genuine. I mean, I don't doubt people who experience these things, like Ryan Bledsoe. Me and him have done shows together.
I was just actually watching a podcast with you and him and a couple other guys. Like, his dad had some crazy thing, right?
Yeah. His dad made contact, and I believe those guys.
Could you just tell people that story?
Yeah. So, Chris Bledsoe, Ryan's father, he kind of has one of the most famous UFO contactee experiences. He had all the time loss and the contact with the craft or whatever. But then there was independent witnesses that he was out fishing with that also saw this craft. and there's a, Ryan relays the story very well, as does his father. But the point is that he was healed of, I don't want to get it wrong, but there was some disease or something he was struggling with, that this entity healed him. And I believe it was the next night or maybe some period later, another entity visited him and gave him some kind of, benevolent message of, the normal thing you hear about alien contact of, spread love, love is the way, that kind of stuff, right? But these guys, they seem very, I'm an okay read on people, and I've had nothing but good vibes from those guys, so I have no reason to doubt. And plus, they had a lot to lose. They got really persecuted by their local sort of church community. It wasn't an easy process for them. It wasn't something that he was trying to do just to get famous or anything like that at all. But they've been studied heavily by a lot of these intelligence agencies and NASA, and they've made contact with some really interesting folks. And you'll see a similar circle of folks that hang around with the Skinwalker Ranch people in Utah, and this similar circle hangs out with To the Stars Academy, because when you start to understand how all these pieces fit together, you find that there is some kind of underlying understanding that this is a phenomenon. It's not these aliens coming from another planet. It's these entities from another dimension, which is, and I don't profess to be the creator of this. I mean, I've read John Keel, the guy who wrote the Mothman prophecies. He wrote a book called The Eighth Tower in the 70s. And he was talking about this phenomenon called ultra terrestrials, and he's basically kind of saying that, Bigfoot and aliens and ghosts, these are all related phenomenon. And and to me, I was just
going to say the interdimensional thing, actually, at least in the context of this Las Vegas story, almost seems like it makes more sense than extraterrestrial, only because I don't know if you saw, there was like the ring like footage or whatever. Like there was someone's like surveillance footage like next door, and there was this huge like flash, like light, flash that happened at the same time. And then, but the fact that they're almost able, I don't even know if I like, maybe I'm talking shit here, but like the fact that they're able to just like disappear like that without a trace, like it seems like if it was extraterrestrial, that'd be closer to like, they would have to just, pack their shit up and fly away versus like, I don't know, but that seems like.
Well, a lot of the times they can't capture entities on video, on camera. People think I'm crazy, but I was telling people on my podcast a few weeks ago how I saw a frozen bird in the sky with my own eyeballs, because I'm skeptical of things too. I don't just believe people who
There was a video of that today, actually, somewhere.
Yes, and a bunch of people tagged me. It looked very similar to what I saw. Mine was a little different, but I saw it with my own eyes, and I pulled my phone. I was driving. I pulled my phone out, and I hit the thing to videotape it, and I lost where the bird was. I was like, crap, where did it go? I look around the phone, boom, he's gone. I said, oh crap. So I stopped the video, and then I had to keep driving. So I kept driving, and I got home. I was like, okay, let me see if I caught it. And it didn't take a video. It didn't take a photo. It didn't take nothing. And I hit it for sure.
Yeah. Is there any explanation for what that can, like the bird is just like static in the air? Like, is it?
Man, I don't know. I don't know.
If it's not flapping, because I was thinking for the video today, I was like, well, if it's flapping its wings and it's like it's flapping its wings as hard as the wind is pushing it, then it would just stand still, I guess.
Right. Right. And yeah, and that one on the video I seen today wasn't flap. The one I saw was flapping its wings, and that's what my wife said. She said it's probably just flying in the wind. And I was like, no, I was driving a convertible, and like it wasn't windy. Like my hair would have been blowing everywhere, and this bird was just chilling. Like, I mean, it was like 10, 20 feet above me. And it was anyway.
Yeah, it was
just crazy stories. No one cares.
Interdimensional surveillance bird or something.
Yeah, right.
Something like that. So we're gonna open the phone lines in probably like about 10 minutes. But yeah, so you're really into. I'm obviously quasi in the entertainment industry, and you're really into the occult and the entertainment industry, or how they relate. That seems to be like a pretty big focus of yours right now.
Yeah. I definitely get into all kinds of. If there's some juicy, Britney conspiracy, I'm into it. That kind of stuff. Sure.
But so, what's the relationship there? Like, do you think it's like purposefully designed, or is this just like kind of like an unintentional thing, or what?
I firmly believe that America, we're established. You go to our capital, you don't see statues of Christ. You see statues of Roman gods and this pantheon of gods, right? And we're based upon, Greek and Roman and Egyptian stuff. And all those had this sort of pantheon, this pagan pantheon of gods and goddesses that we worshiped. And I firmly believe that the celebrities are there to take the place of the ancient gods and goddesses, because they, like you always hear. I mean, even Kanye West has been saying this stuff. And look, Kanye, I go back and forth with Kanye West. So like some days I think the dude's insane. Other days I think he's.
Yeah,
so I mean, like
it's like he's got a bit of both. I mean, he's
got a bit of both.
Yeah.
But like I think that all these celebrities there's some level of control or handling that they are subjected to, because there's a variety of reasons why we should believe that. But I think that they are, it's part of a coordination of. It could be as simple as just trying to transfer wealth. Could be as simple as getting people's attention and keeping them distracted, because that's what they did in Rome. They call it the bread and circus. It was entertainment to keep us distracted, so that we just kind of stayed on the capitalist hamster wheel and didn't worry about what politically people were doing, or what the elites are doing, or this, that, and the other.
Okay. Here's a question that I feel like Kanye's asking, and I feel like I've been asking almost every guest recently. So the question is, who is they?
Who is they?
Who is they? It seems
I
like
wish
this
I had
comes.
I wish
It
I had
seems like this
specific
comes
answers.
up. It seems like this comes up a lot.
I mean, I guess if it depends on what area we're talking about. Since
Yeah.
we're talking
Well,
about
with
aliens.
this occult like entertainment stuff, like, is this like politicians? Is this coming from the top of like the political sphere? Is this like are you believing this is some sort of like global elites thing that's like maybe even above them?
Yeah, I'm into the global elites thing. I mean, obviously, people like Jeffrey Epstein had some. They wielded some high power, and they knew some powerful people. Rockefeller, like Lawrence Rockefeller, was very instrumental in kicking off this alien disclosure movement. I feel like some politicians get involved, but I feel like they almost get used as by handlers that are in higher positions. I mean, it's funny because when you look at like wealth, I feel like wealth is the common factor here. When you look at people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they get enough money that they're set. What do they start talking about? They start talking about moving to Mars and building rockets to go to the moon and all this stuff, because they pursue a higher power. I think they think there's a higher purpose for them, and the reason they've been bestowed all this wealth is because they are in effect deified, and they hold a higher stance, and they need to lead humanity down a certain path. Which anyway. So yeah, I wish I could tell you specifics. I'm certainly not going to say old Santa Claus, because it sounds like he's
I'm on his radar.
I don't want to be on the radar.
I don't know if
either,
you know
man.
Johnny Vedmore, but yeah, I'm on Klaus Schwab's radar apparently. But they let me keep my channel, so that was nice of them.
What a guy.
He just, and you can still watch the video in all these countries. There's just 5 European countries. I don't know what those 5 European countries have in common with one another. I'm actually curious if anybody knows. Like, let me know, because I am actually curious if those 5 countries have like some sort of law that unites them. Why? Because I know the Germany one is like, Germany has that whole thing with like everybody, whoever gets in trouble on Twitter says there's like, they get a takedown notice from Germany. Like, for whatever reason, they have a different law in Germany. And then I guess France has something, because I think Rumble's not in France. So theoretically, actually, this episode's not available to anybody in France right now, because that episode, because France, I believe Rumble said we're not going to operate there because they were asking for all these concessions. So,
real quick. When you ask for they, I think I don't want to get you in trouble, but I think
go forward. No, nothing can get me. Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
I don't want to say I'm like immune to getting in trouble, but during the whole Kanye thing, I did this big like essentially review of the Black Hebrew Israelite movie that Kyrie Irving got suspended for.
Oh wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Where I was essentially like refuting stuff that they were saying about like these stuff about like Hitler, that they like love Hitler and stuff. And then I got a strike on my channel for it. And then I appealed it. I got instantly denied. And then like a week later, randomly, like the strike was just like lifted. So yeah, so I don't know. I feel I don't want to like knock on wood or whatever, but sorry, what were you saying with the?
I got kicked off. I got kicked off a lot of platforms, so I try to be careful with
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I feel like BlackRock and even Vanguard, because if you look them up, they own a larger percentage of stock shares in almost everything.
Pretty much every company. Yeah, they just own a bit of. Yeah, they own some of. Essentially just everything at this point. Like the way that they're structured is they have absolutely like just like a unreasonable amount of power. So we're gonna open the phone lines 5 minutes. I want to ask you about your hip hop conspiracy book, Magic Behind the Mic. Mm-hmm. So can you tell people more about that? I only got a chance to look at it kind of briefly. I didn't get a chance to read it or anything, but I was looking through all the books. You have 9 different books. And so were you in the music industry? Were you in
No, okay. Not at all. I've just been I've been a hip hop guy for a long time, I'm 43, so I grew up and I've always been into music, and it's just interesting to me. And again, this arguably goes into occult ideas, as this God created the world through the spoken word, and it just means that the spoken word has power. When we see all this battle about, currently there's a lot of hot topics about, words you should use and words we supposedly can't use, this, that, and the other. There's a lot of power to be found in the spoken word. And that's why in ritual magic, it's an incantation. It's a spoken word read verbatim. And it's because these words have power. So entertainment, specifically music, is very powerful in inducing emotion. And I always say this, like people act like entertainment isn't influential, and to me it's the most influential thing on the planet. I mean, music,
absolutely. It's like there's like the famous thing where like all the politics are downstream from the culture, essentially, right? That's like Andrew Breitbart's like famous saying or whatever, that he's like it's all like down, it's like essentially that's the stuff that's influencing the politicians, not the other way around. Like that's they're essentially the tail that's wagging the dog. And I think that's, that's not a political thing. It's just like, I just think that's the case, regardless of what side of the aisle you kind of fall on. All right. We have one question from the Great Restart, who's a subscriber of the show, and then we're going to open the phone lines. He wants to know what you think about Robert Kennedy. Are you a fan? Is he crazy?
Yeah, I haven't listened to the Joe Rogan interview yet, so I'm hesitant to give a firm response. I did again, I'll be careful with the words I say. Back in 2020, I did a deep dive into the very hot topic that everyone was talking about, which was I call the thing from 2020 that will never go away. Then there's the solution to the thing from 2020, and I did a heavy research into the solution. Yep. And he's a very vocal anti-solutionist.
Yeah.
And when I did my research on that kind of stuff, I actually came out the other side more anti than I was prior. And I don't know. To me, I'm very much. I see the deception. I see the problem that people have with all that stuff. But I also think that maybe some people could need that solution thing. I'm certainly against anyone telling someone they have to do that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's if you want to take something, I'm like, do whatever the hell you want. I don't care.
Exactly. Like, and that's where I had a hard time with a lot of. It got real nasty there for a while in my community there, and I thought, man, why are we like shaming people? Like, if people want to do this, and maybe they need it, maybe they've got issues and they need that. Like, I would hate to be the guy who talks someone out of doing something and then they got harmed. Like, I don't want nothing to do with that.
For sure.
Which was kind of the way I ended up with it, and that's always been his strong stance, and I respect it because I understand where he's coming from, and I get that angle that he has. I like his anti-big pharma stance.
Yeah, me too. He got into some wacky shit though. Like I don't know if you've seen. Well, he's been getting into the whole him and Dr. Hotez dude or whatever. I don't know if you've seen their like huge beef that's going on right now.
Yes.
But he started getting into like the 5G is giving people cancer and all this stuff. It was a bit much.
Kennedy did.
Yeah, Kennedy did. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like the guy must be the president. It's wild shit.
I have a hard time with that. But.
All right, we got the first call of the night. I am going to pick it up. 1 second. Please, and the phone lines are open, everybody, just so you know. Hello? Hey, what's up? Sorry, just 1 second. Let me patch you through to Isaac. And you are on with Isaac. Who am I speaking with? Hello?
It was Global Leader trying to get you. Hello?
Yeah, dude, they shut down the stream. They didn't want it to happen.
I know, yeah, I saw that. I thought it was me.
No, it
Nah,
was,
they
you know what it
only
is?
talk
It's
about
fucking
stuff.
Spectrum. This is like the third time this has happened when I've been doing this.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
But we're moving to a new studio
Gotta
next
get
week.
Elon's internet.
We're getting a new studio. No, you can't even get Starlink in New York City because you need to have like all the buildings
What?
around. Yeah, because you need like a direct line. You can't be surrounded by buildings. And, like, it doesn't work well in somewhere like New York City. Anyways, welcome to the show. Who am I speaking with again?
Ryan.
Ryan. Okay. Well, you are on with Isaac. What do you want to talk about?
Awesome, Isaac. Long-time listener of your show. Love what you do and love all your books. If
Thanks,
you don't
man.
want to answer this is fine.
All right, that sounds juicy.
So-
Let's go.
Let's listen to it. Listen to another podcast about a year ago. Dude was talking about the divine androgyne and the Baphomet social alchemy and this idea that God separated, or the demiurge separated us from, the divine androgyne, separated us from the male and female. Does the transgender ideology factor into that, in your opinion?
I think when you talk about transgender, there's a couple things going on there. Like, I think that on the one hand, you could argue that there's elements of that occultists would pursue. For instance, Genesis P. Ulrich, right? He or they, I should say, tried to sort of do that reconciliation of opposites, and him and Lady J, his wife, both were seeking sexual sex change surgeries to both become like an androgynous Baphomet, sort of like a male entity with breast kind of look. So that element exists. Now, is it some coordinated agenda to get people to get into this stuff? I don't know. I'm hesitant to go on board with that, because I do think that those things do exist in nature. I think that and for instance, you could even put this on capitalism, because like Alex Jones says,
It's all about money.
Well, I'm talking about like the chemicals, right? Like the chemicals in from like
atrazine or whatever. Well, that's what RFK was going on about on Rogan.
Oh, was he?
He was literally talking about the frogs.
They're
making the frogs gay.
Yeah. So like, I think, because I always view things from, I'm very skeptical. Like, look, I love America. I love capitalism. Obviously, like, I love money and making money, and I have no problems with all that. Yeah. My problem is that when the elites want to like do bad things, they'll push whatever agenda they want to keep doing bad things. So they want to put pollution and chemicals into the water and do it without harm. Like, they want to pretend like it's not causing any harm, and the reality is that we have all these chemicals and endocrine disruptors and all these things in our American sort of way of life, that yes, of course, it's going to be shifting around people's hormones and chemicals. So but is there a big master hidden hand of occult play at work? Maybe. I mean, you could argue that.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't think that would be the end-all be-all of the whole global elite, quote unquote. It's just another thing to toss into the mess. So the UFO'S.
I get where you're coming from. I choose not to go into that sometimes, because I do think that sometimes there's people that want to use it to hate others, and like I just like you're not wrong for seeing that, but I also like I don't harp on that, because I don't want the wrong people to hear that and be like, oh yeah, see, like, and then go beat up transgender people. It's like, no, dude, like that's the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's highly politicized, so you don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, coming from this perspective, just from the occult, looking at it that way, you don't want to inject that into it, because people will take it and run with it.
Yeah, and I realize that's a quasi cop out, but like, I've got transgender people in my family that I love dearly, and it's like, man, I don't. It's too hot of a topic. Like 10 years ago, sure, we could talk about it, but today it's like, man, it's just too much. So I always go towards this thing of like, is it going to help because ultimately I think the big plan for they want division. They want us fighting amongst each other so they can keep doing what they want to do. And if the topic is something that's going to promote division, like I kind of try to shy away from it a little bit.
Makes sense,
Yeah.
It's just feeding into what they want. So
yeah, in a way, yeah.
Right.
So I hope that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. Like I said, I've been trying to ask you this for a while, or wanting to, and I was like, I don't think he's going to want to talk about it.
Well,
just for those same reasons. But no, I totally understand.
You're not wrong. I do avoid the topic a little bit, but there is an occult study of genders. When you talk about like the Hermeticism and the Kabbalion, they talk about the masculine and the feminine and everything. And when you look at the Kabbalistic tree of life, and there is all this sort of ideas of playing with active and passive forces. And so there, yes, I do think there's some element of that at play. I couldn't pinpoint it, and I couldn't tell you who the boogeyman is, and I couldn't tell you the end goal of why it fits into it exactly. So,
yeah, and at least as it relates to the occult stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it's like a giant puzzle, right? Like there's so many moving pieces, and I imagine. There's so many different components to it that I actually was thinking. I was listening to. Sorry, go ahead, caller.
No, sorry. I was saying, even with the UFO thing, it's just people get so confused. People get lost in the depths of all the different phenomena, and they're trying to, like the Fortean, I guess, ideology is that they're all interconnected, which, coming from a more secular background, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, even just reading in Keel's book, Mothman Prophecies, he got harassed by these things, and he had no idea. So I don't know what's going on. They're just horrible. So it's just all meant to confuse and divide, and
Yeah, I think there's a struggle right now where they're trying to. I don't know the answer, but it seems like there's an element trying to push the idea of aliens being this sort of, evil force that we need to really start building some weapon systems to take out. Then there's this other element that's like, no, this is God, and this is the Luciferian angel that we all need to worship. And it's like, whoa, like I don't know what the right answer is, but I feel like it might be somewhere in between the two.
Has there been ever anything though that's like made us think that we should be like fearing any sort of like whatever like extraterrestrials or aliens or whatever, like specifically?
Well, look at like abductions; they're horrible. But then you go to the contactees, and they love it. Like Stephen Greer, you're talking about the military-industrial complex. We got to build weapons and fight them. That's one of Greer's main things. Is he's like, they're trying to just get money. It's scaring people. But then Greer's charging $10,000 to go out in the desert and summon these entities, which it's like, I don't think either side is good. I don't want to take up too much time, but I got read an article a while ago talk about the beast of the sea, the beast of the land in Revelation, and how that could correspond to like the old school elite, like the eyes wide shut Satanists who are doing all this crazy stuff in the shadows. And then you have the new kind of Luciferian ideology that's trying to actually pave the way, taking over the reins from them, paving the way for the Antichrist. I'm Catholic UFO Network though, so all my stuff is based in Catholicism, so I'm gonna go straight there with the spirituality of it.
Yeah.
But like the are they fighting each other now? Because you've got all these movies that were aliens are the good guys. There are Space Brothers right alongside like Battle Los Angeles and all the horrible invasion ones. So is that just two sides of the same coin trying to sow discord? I don't know. I think it's just all confusion, misinformation, disinformation.
Yeah, caller, how does that? I have a question because you're saying so you come at this from like a Catholic or like a element or angle or whatever. So like, should there be aliens that landed on Earth, tomorrow and they made contact and like how does that reconcile with your faith? Or is it like would there be any sort of issue with that, or is there like a?
So no, it's a complicated thing that the church hasn't actually spoken on. I think I did an article a while back about this, and the only thing I was able to find was that Pope Francis said if aliens showed up, we'd offer to baptize them. And then there is a Jesuit priest who's at the Vatican Observatory in where is it? I think it's in Arizona somewhere. And he said that they may be outside of salvation because they're not man. And the way that kind of goes in with original sin and how we are fallible, we're the ones who committed original sin.
But like in the Bible, like doesn't it say like on whatever that God made man?
Yes, exactly. Made man in his image. And
his image,
there's,
right? So,
I think, yeah. So there's one course of thought is that there is no problem with like unintelligent life out there in the universe, because at the fall, all creation was corrupted by man's original sin. And that would be completely unfair to another sentient race existing somewhere else who had no fault in that. But if there's non-sentient life out there, it's the same as, like, the way I compare it is, you know, all this stuff, Jesus came to the Middle East and they had to spread it out across the whole planet. How does that change, you know, the boundaries that were around back in ancient times going across the ocean? That is almost comparable to now going across the stars. Like, we could easily, you know, from a Christian's perspective, spread the gospel to the stars, like have a 40K Great Crusade, you know?
yeah.
But would those sentient beings need that? Can they even exist from a theological perspective because of original sin? So no, personally, and from like official church teachings, there's nothing that actually would like, if it was legitimately aliens showed up tomorrow, it wouldn't affect, you know, the church, because it'd be like, yeah, that's fine. There's nothing concrete either way.
Because I always wondered about that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. I was going to say, that being said, looking at looking at the UFO phenomenon, looking at the similarities between the demonic phenomenon, between just like the fairies, and people get abducted, and it's a horrible experience. And if you take away the sci-fi, you know, spaceship and little green men, it's just demonic oppression. Like, nobody talks about the frequently there are poltergeist activities in the house. If you look at if you read Communion by Whitley Strieber, he was getting messed with for months before he realized, like, in his own home, like, the entities were coming and just harassing him in the sleep. His son talked about something came and poked him, and come to find out his son was being abducted. And then even now, he's still going on about stuff. His wife is supposedly with these entities, and she died years ago, and they're telling him this, which is weird. Yeah, that's what he said.
They like won't leave him alone, essentially.
And there's another. Oh no, they're with him his whole life. And now, though, I think he's kind of reconciled with it, and he's just in more of the contactee thing. But what's interesting is, in like fairy phenomena, the fairy faith back in the 1670s, 1800s, dead relatives would often be found in quote unquote fairyland. And that's just one of the pieces of the puzzle that goes, this overlaps. If you read Jacques Vallée's book, Passport to Magonia, he goes really deep into it. Like, I could spend hours talking about that book. It's really good.
Yeah. Interesting.
You were going to say something else. Sorry.
Oh, no. Well, I was just saying, I've often thought that the reason, like, if there are, UFOs and like aliens that the governments know about, that part of the reason why they actually wouldn't release this information would be because of the havoc it might wreak amongst the religious people of the world, in just the sense that, like, it doesn't tie in with a lot of religions, that there's this, like, this is just never referenced. And I think just like it would just cause so much chaos for, you got to think.
Oh yeah.
6 billion people or something. I don't know how many people are considered to be religious or of some like religion, but it's, most of the world.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it from a religious perspective, though, a lot of it on the contactee side feeds into the New Age kind of ideology. They're, the Space Brothers, the cosmic Christ consciousness they talk about. Mm-hmm. It gets weird, and that's kind of more Stephen Greer's thing, is this, communion, going out and meditating and getting in tune on a psychic level with these entities. But, like, you go to other contactees, and they'll come out and say, hey, you guys, everything's pretty good. You guys got Christianity wrong, though. We've got Christ. He's one of us. And you guys are messing up, and he's going to come and let you know what's going on. And from
that would be insane too.
I see that. Yeah.
But what are the Muslim, what are all the Muslim people in the world going to be like if that happens?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like, everybody is kind of okay. I don't know. It's weird because they do typically attack just that one religion. But
yeah.
I could talk all day. If I need to go, let me know, because
there's tie-ins to Helena Blavatsky. She was a prominent occultist who was spreading her theosophical beliefs, which is what L. Frank Baum, the guy who wrote Wizard of Oz, was into. And with her system of beliefs, it was, she had beef with Christianity, of course, and she taught that there were all these ascended masters, and Jesus was just another ascended master. And basically, those are the aliens, right? These are the disembodied entities that you could channel wisdom and information through. And it's a constant message you see when you read about the history of the occult, about these sort of invisible, ascended wisdom masters that can teach mankind how to evolve. And that's where they really want to take it, I think, is that and if you read so 2001: A Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke wrote it, and he wrote 3 novels after that. There's 2010, 2061, and then 3001. And if you follow the storyline, that is what I think the elites want, or they, right? That's what I think they want to take us. They want to evolve us into digital consciousness, which is what their aliens are paving the way for us to sort of be guided into. I do believe that's and
is that like a transhumanism thing?
Yes, very much so. It's taking the human soul and digitizing it, which in theory, right, they're going to say, oh, you can live immortal and go anywhere instantaneously, and we've mastered reality, and it's basically trying to evolve mankind out of existence.
Isn't that just the message from the serpent in the garden, though? We'll be as gods, we'll be immortal, we'll know everything. Like, it's just the same old trick happening again. And again, from a Catholic perspective, that's what I see. Like, transhumanism is terrifying because so many people want to buy into it. But I mean, you go try to upload your brain into a computer, there may be some sort of copy of you, but you're going to freaking die. Like, it's not going to be you.
Yeah, that tower, it's the Tower of Babel story all over again, right? Of mankind getting this Promethean wisdom and building technology to become, ascended and more powerful than God, and never works out well. So, and then you got, you could throw in this artificial intelligence angle into the whole thing too. That ties into the alien agenda as well. Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
It's terrifying.
I'm going to let you go, caller, just so we have some other people calling in, but appreciate your call.
No, totally understand.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, of course.
All right, we're going to pick up another caller here. One moment, please. Hello? Hello? What's going on here? Hello?
Y'all hear?
Hey, what's up?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
What's going on?
How's it going, buddy?
All right, how's it going? First off, Danny, y'all was talking about that certain individual who's limiting your accessibility in certain parts of the world.
Klaus Schwab?
I ain't going to be naming names. All I got to say is you got a penis and that guy got a mouth. Now, let's get that.
I'm not sure where you're going with that, but it sounds like you might have a Calvin and Hobbes bumper sticker or one of those Calvin and Hobbes decals on the back of your truck or something.
It's all up to interpretation. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that.
All right. What's your question for Isaac?
So I got this thing, and I noticed especially this thing that it's been kicking around since the 90s, but every time there's a world conflict and they're these humans need to stop fighting each other, this, that, the other, and then everyone on the internet or news reporters be joking about this stuff, saying, look, if we all get invaded by aliens, we'll drop our differences and our hatred for each other, and then we'll all combine and fight this one invading force. I am entirely and incredibly suspicious of this, because I think it'll be used to for the final push of a full one global government being hey, guess what? Y'all won't have your own governments anymore to fight each other based on whatever differences of material or history or culture. No, now you can only rely on us because of this outside invasion force.
Yeah, which is, I think that's been a theory for quite some time, I think.
That they'll do, in the theories that they'll, the global, whatever fucking globalist it is, or the UN, they'll try and simulate an alien invasion. So like some people are saying like all these like UFO tic tacs they're seeing now, they're like, oh no, that's just like a military aircraft. They're going to prepare for like a false flag worldwide invasion, where people are going to be like, oh great, now we do have to rely on like a one world because like our planet is under attack falsely. Does that seem like a probable thing?
You know, I do think that's a theory that they believe in. Like when Ronald Reagan was saying that kind of stuff back in the 80s, I question if that's actually possible because, I mean, look at you know, the thing from 2020. You couldn't get everybody on board with one side of reality versus the other. You know, you could still argue about these things. So if they were able to sort of say, hey, look, there's, you know, if you could look out in the sky and you see everyone in the world sees the same UFO, you know, we might all say, oh, okay, yeah, okay, there's something that's really happening right there. But trying to get everybody to agree to the point of creating a sort of global government, I don't know if that's as easy as they would want. I do believe that they want that. I do believe that that's an idea that, like in the Project Bluebeam story from the 90s, that this theory that they were going to sort of, once the technology caught up, that they could deceive us to actually look into the sky and see these things that were going to be false illusions, that's where they were going to take us. It's possible, right? You've got augmented reality. You've got drones, you know, light shows that look very believable.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. It's a little far-fetched.
I think that in order for them to actually do something like that, it seems like they would, you know, have to wipe off like a major city, like the whole thing.
That's a good point. Yeah,
which
maybe.
Sucks because in every one of these scenarios, that city's always New York City, which is where I live.
Well, what about the scenario depicted by that really cool film District 9, where like they literally somehow like integrated these infesting aliens into like their own township systems, and they're all like, well, like, are you familiar with that film? Have you seen it, Isaac?
I've seen it, but it was years and years ago.
Yeah, I saw it years ago, but it was like it's basically about like apartheid South Africa, right? Like that's kind of the what the analogy was meant to be.
Has that guy from D N-word on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they call them fucking prawns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there was a so something interesting because I study a lot of Stanley Kubrick theories, and in 2001: A Space Odyssey, there was this storyline in there in the book called Project Barsoom, and the story, supposedly fake, right, fictional. The Department of Defense carried out this study through Harvard where humans were convinced that they were contacted by aliens through a variety of sort of MK Ultra things of drugs and hypnosis and visual effects. So it's interesting, you know, and that book was written in the 60s. This is before people knew MK Ultra was even a program.
Yeah.
And it just, that's why I always go to those 2001: A Space Odyssey books, because I do think that Arthur C. Clarke was sort of privy to some of these ideas and he presented it. So it's it's possible technology is going to be part of manifesting this control system that they want, because that's how technology goes. It seems like the whole idea of technology is that it's supposed to make our lives better and easier and we don't have to work as hard, and that's such BS because, you know, people are working, you know, everyone's got a side hustle. It's like, no, you're working two jobs, man.
Yeah,
like everyone's got multiple. I've got multiple jobs.
Yeah.
So it's like they're trying to hoard the resources and make us work harder when this technology exists that in theory we're supposed to be living better lives, but they use it for control systems. You know?
Is there any truth to that of the Arthur C. Clarke thing, like or like not truth but evidence that he actually had this information?
You know, not that I know of, besides reading the books. It's an interesting storyline he lays out that just so happens to sort of fit into the narrative. If you look at Facebook for a while, they've been, you know, Facebook and Google, they've been doing research and setting up patents for the idea of digital consciousness transfer. So it's something they're looking into. If you read Ray Kurzweil's books, he talks about this also as being the sort of end game. Yeah, the singularity, right? And that's coming up. That's the singularity is supposed to happen in, I think, about 15 years, give or take. It seems hard to believe, standing where we are now, that that's where we're headed. But I mean, someone's pulling the levers, trying to move us down a path, and that's where they want to take us. And why wouldn't they, right? It's the ultimate in control if they can have us into their digital sort of playground. I mean, look at how half of these social media companies are. They ban you for this, that, and the other. I mean, like, that's what they want. They want full control, and that's the way they can get it.
Yeah.
All right. I like all that. And before I hang up, I just want to tell Danny, we know you are not suicidal.
I'm not.
Danny, you are not suicidal.
I'm not suicidal, right. Klaus Schwab. I'm not, man.
Have a good night.
Thanks, pal. Later. Yeah, I just have to. Just when Klaus and his folks are giving me trouble, I just have to make people aware of the fact that I love being alive and all that. So, all right, we got another caller. One moment, please. Hello. Thanks for calling Low Value Mail. Hello. Hello. Hello? No. All right. We lost them. We had a caller there, but so you've written 9 books. Do you have one you're working on right now?
Yes, I am. In fact, I said I was going to stop writing books because it's very time consuming.
Yeah, it takes forever. Holy shit! It's hell to write.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and I don't like the mental place it puts me in because I really have to sort of tune out the outside world, and that comes at a detriment to a lot of relationships and things. So I've committed that this next book, I'm going to write a book about Twin Peaks. Okay. Have you ever seen Twin Peaks, Danny?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm calling it my sort of master class in occult symbolism because I just watched it, the entire Twin Peaks thing, about 6 months ago. I'd never seen it before. Since 2011, people constantly, at least multiple times a year, say, "Oh, you got to watch Twin Peaks. I know you're into the occult symbolism. You got to watch this show." And I tried watching it so many damn times, and I'd always make it through halfway through episode 1, the pilot, and I'd be like, "This is stupid. Why am I watching this?" And I would turn it off.
Yeah.
And
I really like David Lynch. He's a wacky dude.
Yeah. Yes. And I really started to understand. I started to get because a lot of David Lynch stuff, the pacing kind of drives me nuts sometimes, but it's really, really ingenious. And I'm absolutely obsessed with Twin Peaks now, and I'm writing a book on it. But I'm kind of going through for my Patreon people. They're kind of going with me on the journey of sort of unpacking the symbolism one little bite at a time. We're going to go through every single episode. I just started this. This is brand new.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, which I don't know how long it's going to take me, a year maybe. When it's all said and done, I'm going to take all the notes, compile it, write the book, add some, symbolism, this, that, and the other, what's going on. Because it fits into everything we always talk about. I mean, especially aliens, right? It's very, it's very in line with a lot of the occult ideas.
That's actually a cool idea to kind of almost like as a group kind of almost create the book. So it's like everybody kind of feels like they're in on the whole process, and they like almost have some input to a degree.
Yeah, because I'm going to read the comments, because there's obviously a lot of people that are obsessed with Twin Peaks that know way more than I do. I just know the occult stuff that I'm watching the show, and I'm like, holy crap, like that's happening here, and this is happening there, and oh my God, what's this? And and it's interesting because what really pulled me in, because I watched the first couple seasons, it had ups and downs and parts where I was like, I don't know, this is kind of dumb. And then I watched the movie. I was like, okay, the movie was dope. Fire Walk with Me. Then I watched season 3. And again, I was like, I don't know about this. But then I read the books, and the books is what pulled me in. And I said, okay, Mark Frost, who co-created the show, he is obviously the occult expert here.
Like he's the one who's influencing all of those elements.
That's my perspective on it. I still have to dig into a lot. I'm sure there's people out there that know every bit of Twin Peaks trivia that say, oh yeah, well this, that, and the other. But for me, my perspective, because Mark Frost wrote the books, and when I read the books, it's a very different story than what I'm seeing on the show. And some of the ideas I thought I saw on the show, but I wasn't sure. When I read the books, I say, holy crap, yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. Of course, there's this is related to Jack Parsons and the atomic detonation and this, that, and the other. So it's super fascinating, and that's my current obsession.
And
right
are there ever instances where you like, because I guess when you see occult, like there must be intentional, like kind of any sort of like occult like references, symbolism, like I can't imagine that's like just coincidental that they wind up in these shows. Right.
There's a lot of like I think I talked with my wife about it, because I do another podcast with her called Breaking Social Norms. It's more of like a conversational. She's the normie and I'm the truther, and I'm trying to explain the real the real world.
Trying to red pill your wife.
Yeah, basically. And we were talking about it, and I said, look, for someone to accidentally put all of these occult messages and symbols, we'll say Twin Peaks, for instance, I mean, that would have to be a 1 in a bazillion. There's just so many things that have to line up. And it is possible that like in my hip hop book, 2 Chainz, he was asked about this whole idea of Illuminati symbolism in the rap videos. And he said, look, man, like I just show up on set. The directors have everything laid out. They put this stuff behind me. And I forget what he mentioned. He mentioned something that was, I think it was like twin pillars is what he was talking about.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm just there doing the job, and they just tell me what to do and where to do it. Like I have nothing to do with that. They do that stuff. And that is where you start getting into the theory of it. Is it because the director is an occultist who's trying to sort of push out occult messaging, or
they're
is the
into
director
that stuff?
yeah, they're into that stuff, and maybe they use it to either manifest energy and gain power, I guess would be the simplest way of putting it, or maybe they're just trying to be edgy and they understand that these are edgy sort of dark symbols sometimes. So
and they're just
away.
And like, what are like examples of that? Because like I hear like when you say like try and manifest power, so that's like a very deliberate thing they're doing at that point. Like it's not just like here's a little cool reference for the other people who might catch this, but otherwise, like even if you don't catch it, it's maybe still an interesting thing to see in like a video or whatever. But like when you say that, like trying to manifest energy, like what do you mean specifically there?
So with ritual magic, there's a thing called the triangle of manifestation. I'll give you one example, right? The triangle of manifestation, and it's also known as the rock diamond.
Yeah.
Right. You see Jay-Z do it, and very famous people. Oh, it's an Illuminati hand symbol. Well, kind of, because in the realms of the occult, you can look up Anton LaVey doing the same hand gesture, because in the Ordo Templi Orientis, which is just a magical order, they use that as one of their ritual poses. And the triangle of manifestation is a way of channeling power and energy into the magician, because that's what we're talking about with all of this stuff. It's always a way of taking energy from the universe and rearranging and sending it back out to do the will of whoever the magician is. So when you see Beyonce and Jay-Z do it, I get that like Jay-Z called it the rock diamond and it's not a triangle. I get that, but the hand symbol sure does look like a triangle, and you see all these celebrities do it. In fact, Rihanna, I always watch the Super Bowl performances, of course, because I'm a conspiracy jerk and I gotta hype up every
this year was probably a good one for you with all that.
Yeah, well, I watched it on regular TV live, and I thought, okay, there's not a lot there, and I'm not the kind of guy that's gonna really, really stretch boundaries and try to make something that's not there. And I watched it and I thought, okay, I mean, there's a couple things we can talk about. Nothing really. And I made the show. Then someone messaged me and they say, dude, you got to watch the YouTube version, because she does the hand gesture. And long story short, I ended up bumping up the YouTube version against what I saw on live television. The live television version, they were zoomed in on Rihanna's face at the end of her performance, and they cut away for, I bet, 2 seconds. Those 2 seconds is when she throws up the rock diamond symbol. Then they cut right back to her. And it's like, why? Look, I don't know why they did it, but why did they cut away?
What did they cut away to?
2 seconds. They zoomed out. They zoomed way out, so you couldn't see what she was doing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like close up on her face,
and just
zoomed
like
way out,
wide,
so you couldn't
just
see
like
it.
the whole stadium.
Yeah, like the whole stadium. Then zoomed right back in. I mean, it was literally had to been 2 seconds. The 2 seconds she was doing that hand gesture. And why they would do that, I don't know. It doesn't actually fit with the narrative of what we claim, because we claim, they do these symbols on this mass audience like the Super Bowl because they're channeling energy from the viewers. So, okay, if they're doing that, then why would they not show that on the camera? I don't have the answers for that. I don't know.
I'm fascinated by this whole energy channeling component. Like, so is that like a big component of this occultist stuff in general?
Yeah. And one of the biggest sources of energy comes from sex magic, right? And that is what Stanley Kubrick had in Eyes Wide Shut, possibly, right? You don't overtly see that, but when you watch Eyes Wide, have you seen Eyes Wide Shut, Danny?
I haven't. You know what? I just actually watched. I'd never seen it before. This weekend, I just watched Clockwork Orange.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, which I'd never seen. Like, I was just like, I had never seen it. And I was like, you know what? I was sitting at home. I was like, I'm going to go through like just whatever, classics I haven't seen. I was like, you know what? I got to watch this. But Eyes Wide Shut is also one that I really want to see. I know that it has like a lot of that kind of crazy stuff. Actually, you know what? Hold that thought. We got another caller here. One moment, please. Hello. Hello. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, this person's hello.
Hey, Danny, how are you doing?
Oh, hey, what's up? How's it going? I was about to hang up. I was about to hang up on you, so you saved yourself very quickly. All right, you're on with Isaac.
Sick. One second. There's a motherfucking plane going by.
I was gonna say that sounded like an airplane.
So I had 2 points. So one about something you mentioned earlier, Danny. It was if the idea that the reason they would be keeping the whole alien business low key is because people are gonna trip the fuck out and go crazy, It
would cause chaos.
I just want to
surely.
Yeah. And I think that idea is complete bullshit.
Okay.
Like if someone comes out and says that there's fucking aliens here, like I'm still gonna go to work tomorrow. I'm sure you're gonna go to work tomorrow. Like,
I'm not saying for like the sense of work, but I'm just saying the people who are like, my religion is the religion and every other religion is bullshit. And then like I think just once you throw aliens in that equation, you're like, okay, well, you definitely have more questions and maybe a little less certainty than you might have had the day before they came. That's at least my opinion on that. But obviously, you're still going to go to world the world's not going to like shut down. I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah. So I just mean, for anyone who would have, if you imagine like some all powerful or like really powerful organization, like a whole bunch of CIAs and World Economic Forums. If they all got together and they were like, hey, guys, we really got to keep this shit down, for them to have the reason being, it's all that religious people are going to be going crazy. Like, they don't really care about it, I think, that much to have a massive conspiracy to keep it all down. And what would happen with the religious people, I think, they would just be a little bit confused for a few days. They'd have to figure out a way to think about it, but nothing too crazy would happen. I think the world would move on, no problem. But what I'm getting at is that there is a very real reason for very powerful entities in the world to keep this shit down. And by the way, mind you, remember, you're speaking to a guy who is 100% certain that these motherfuckers are out here.
I mean, so yeah, just a little reference here, Isaac. He had what he describes as like basically, what was it? Like there was a UFO in Brantford, Ontario, that was like 20 feet above you, basically.
Yeah, straight up.
But again, nobody fucking ever takes a photo.
Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. Like, we didn't have a fucking phone on us that day. But yeah, no, like one of us.
Convenience.
No, it was a legit, like, stereotypical fucking saucer UFO directly above our heads, real close to us. And so, like nobody can tell me that anti-gravity technology is not out there, and most likely whatever fuel they're using to use this anti-gravity technology is probably not not dinosaur juice, but like some real exotic shit. And so what I'm getting at is the reason to keep this shit down is oil, right? Like if these things are out here and they have the ability to if they have replacement for oil, if they have an alternative fuel source that is really powerful, oil is so fucking important. Like the whole world is built on oil. All the wars start because of oil. So
you're just basically saying money and resources, which, I mean, I will say that is that does make sense. So what wars are fought over for the most part.
The CIA, if you're CIA, if you're World Economic Forum, if you're all of these dudes that have crazy like oil connections, for you to say, oh, you know what, let them just release this fucking alternative fuel that's going to destroy this fucking trillion dollar fucking industry. That they find many ways to keep it down in the media and everywhere else. That would be a real reason to
but
keep
surely it down. if like extraterrestrials or aliens or whatever, if they wanted to make themselves known, there's nothing they could do to stop that, unless they obviously are like, they have some sort of relationship and they're making some sort of agreement. Like if you have to assume that like if aliens just wanted to go literally just like park their spaceship on Fifth Avenue, like that's the end of it. Like nobody can stop that. Like they would just be that's it.
Well, did you catch the David Grush, the new whistleblower, in that interview? He said there was an agreement, and what he didn't go into the details, but what he's referring to is this claim that going all the way back to Presidents Truman and Eisenhower back in the 40s and the 50s, that they had an agreement with entities or aliens or whatever, that they would sort of work together to keep their existence sort of, I don't know, quiet, in exchange for us giving up humans for their experimenting, because they wanted to study our DNA, right? They wanted to know more about our origins, and that's allegedly what the Majestic 12 agreements were all about way back when. And that's what David Grush claims, and I don't know if I believe David Grush, but that's what he was saying on the interview.
So he was essentially, I caught some of it. I didn't see his whole interview, but so he's saying there's just been an agreement forever, like, which again, certainly possible. I'm sure there could be, a way that would be beneficial for all parties there.
Yeah, I actually like that angle with the oil. That does kind of make sense. That there, I mean, because if you have billionaires all around you, you're not trying to mess up the money, right? So.
For sure. And so as far as why aliens are not just like showing themselves left and right, it's that whole prime directive idea, right? That if you have this crazy advanced civilization, you don't want to just go around and like start giving everyone the keys to the universe to start going around and fucking shit up. You just kind of want to let them get there on their own first, and perhaps they're not being that secretive. I mean, there's there are so many stories of them landing everywhere, showing themselves. All of those fucking school kids in whatever country I forget, and everywhere else.
Like it was like Africa or something, or
something like that.
But again, why is there's just no one fucking picture would go so far with this.
I know what you mean.
Like an insane length just for one.
Right, and you would think that everyone, damn near everyone in the world's got a cell phone with a
every
video
person
camera.
on Earth at this point has a camera. Like that was the thing with the Vegas thing, where I'm like, it didn't make sense to me that they were just trying to capitalize on this. They saw a flash in the sky, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, we could make something here. Let's like call the cops and make up this crazy story on the spot. Like that makes no sense to me. But then just like, why don't you just... But then the one guy, the kid did say, he goes like, honestly, when they looked at me, I was like totally paralyzed. Like I had like essentially like sleep paralysis, where when I was looking at them, they're like, I couldn't move any of my... I just couldn't move. So
which sounds a lot like, Whitley Strieber talked about, I think Ryan was the guest that called in and was talking about Whitley Strieber's experience. And he did say, he went through, he suffered some kind of paralysis, and he compared it to being surrounded by demons in hell and stuff like that. So I mean, that sounds pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
And if you watch that video of Las Vegas, those guys were strapped. They walked in the backyard with guns and stuff. So I mean, I don't know. Could it have been a hoax? Sure, but to be fair,
such a hoax to be like so on your feet though for that to be a hoax, because like you literally, for that to be a hoax, you need that like just random crazy flash that the cop like also saw. Like on his, like you need that happening. Like it's one thing to call the cops and say like we saw this thing, and then they show up and they're like, well, nobody saw anything, like no flashes in the sky. But like the cop who showed up literally was like, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. That's like why I came, because he's like, I also saw that. That's like kind of crazy. And then they're like explaining the whole thing. And he's like, all right, but again, no photos.
But notice what's happening here.
Yeah, I really want to like give it a little bit of time, figure out like what else happened there. Like get a little bit more of a.
I mean, I don't think we're getting any more information. I think that's the extent of it. It probably got all we're going to get. And
well, they said, and those guys said they saw the Men in Black cruising around too, which ties us into like Twin Peaks stuff, because that's what Twin Peaks and X-Files was showing us. But the big picture here to take away, and what I do think, because you make the point of why don't we have more videos, and there are videos that get uploaded, right? And people say, well, I don't know if that's real or not. But it is a matter of time until we get that sort of persuasive, undeniable evidence. I mean, you could even go back to 97 with the Phoenix Lights. That was undeniable, right? That was the most witnessed case of UFOs in history.
Mm-hmm.
And even the governor, Fife Symington, who dismissed it and tried to mock it, he come out later and said, like, dude, like that was real. But
that shit was so fucking crazy. And for anyone in the audience who hasn't seen this documentary, and Danny, Out of the Blue, check it out. That shit is so fully packed.
And it's about the Phoenix Lights.
I think it's featured on Out of the Blue. I think it's on. I think it's on it, but I think Out of the Blue doesn't it go through like the history of UFOs. Okay,
yeah, no. Out of the Blue, it just deals specifically with that incident. They go and interview all of the people all over the city and the surrounding cities, areas, what they saw. It's wild. I mean, there was definitely a massive fucking mothership. If you listen to that whole documentary, all of the people are like, no, it wasn't just a few lights. There was a massive mothership that blocked out the fucking stars while everyone was trying to watch a comet go by.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll look into that on the after show. That'll be the first video up. But
before you hang up on me, let me. I had a question for Isaac. Actually, so two questions. One a quick one and one of a longer question. So first, this is just because you're a bit of a UFO guy, and I've been trying to find this one author. It's this older lady who's apparently been doing work on UFOs on just like reporting or like collecting UFO cases all over North America for many, many years at this point, probably decades. And I saw her in some interview on some channel maybe a year or two ago, and she was so crazy knowledgeable and not like in a kooky way. She just knew of every fucking single report in North America, and she had like data. She had it like sorted every which way. She could tell you like in which instances UFOs are more likely to appear, like they're more likely to appear near large bodies of water and shit like that. And she apparently wrote a book kind of like compiling all of the work from the many decades she and maybe her husband or something that we're doing. And I was just wondering, do you have any idea who I'm talking about? Because I can't for the life of me find who the fuck it was.
Is it Linda Moulton Howe?
No, not that crazy bitch.
No, I don't know who fits that mold.
That's too bad for
she's kind of the only one I could think of.
No worries. And then more important one, because you started talking about the GOAT Kubrick. I wanted to ask, have you seen the greatest examination of The Shining of all time, called Kubrick's Odyssey: Secrets Hidden in the Films of Stanley Kubrick, Part 1 and Part 2?
Yeah, the Jay Weidner documentaries. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, those you're right. Those are the best ones. Yeah.
Those easily. So yeah, the first one is goated and all about like there's a lot about Apollo, but then the second one really strikes home for like what you are really into with all of the occult stuff. And yeah, for just anyone out there who hasn't seen this stuff, if you want to check out like the greatest examination of like some real occult shit done by Stanley Kubrick, part 2 is completely different from part 1, right? So Kubrick's Odyssey, Secrets Hidden in the Films of Stanley Kubrick, part 2. You guys check that shit out. It'll blow your fucking mind. But also check out part 1. I mean, they're amazing. It's hard to find them. Archive.org, I think, has both. So
yeah, I watched them back when he released those. I mean, I feel like it was around 2009 or something maybe, and he was supposed to have an Odyssey 3 that he talked about releasing for a while, and then as far as I know, he never did. And then he started doing a documentary about Mount Shasta, which has a lot of UFO activity and this resurrection of Kalki character and kind of some out there stuff. But yeah, Jay Widener's the GOAT, man. Yeah, definitely. You must be an old school dude if you remember Odyssey 1 and 2. Yeah, those are the originals.
Fuck yeah. And then once you watch that part 2, you guys will look at 2001: A Space Odyssey in a whole fucking different light. That whole movie is like a massive spell. It's fucking incredible. All of you who are into this shit, I highly recommend it. It's easily like some of the best work out there. But anyways,
cool.
I will let you guys go get
very cool
callers in or whatever.
All right, thanks for that. Was Kubrick like on the record as being super into, like, did he talk about a lot of the occult stuff? Like, was he very like open about that?
You know, not particularly. He
obviously made it into a lot of his stuff, but
yeah, he was kind of a reserved guy, from what I understand. They label him as this eccentric kind of Howard Hughes type character, and I've also read that that's not necessarily accurate. But he, the closest thing I have to sort of evidence is I actually wrote a book about Stanley Kubrick, and that's I've got him tattooed on my arm. Right, I'm kind of obsessed with Kubrick. I wrote a book called Kubrick's Code, which featured some of Jay Widener's ideas from those documentaries that the caller was talking about, and because this is way back when I wrote this book, and I did many episodes on Eyes Wide Shut on my podcast, and if you read, there's a book about the making of Eyes Wide Shut, and in that book they mention how Stanley Kubrick had this book called Cult and the Occult by, I think it was Peter Brooksmith or something like that, an old book from the 70s, and he had underlined a bunch of passages in it. And I actually hunted this book down. It was like $120. There was a copy in England, and I bought it because I wanted to see what he was talking about, because there was a part where in the book, in the Making of Eyes Wide Shut book, they allude to this idea of young boys being involved in rituals. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty strange. So I bought this book because I was like, I got to know the passage. I got to know what he was talking about. And to my surprise, my shock, there was the section he had underlined was about this thing called Shunammite that goes way back to, I think it was King David or King Solomon, where these elites would sleep with young virgins or young boys, not have sex with them, but literally sleep with them.
Literally just sleep in the bed with them.
And they would sort of vampirically harness their youthful energy to try to keep these old farts from getting too old. They wanted to stay young.
But it's essentially just to be around them.
Yeah, and the idea was like they would absorb their energy somehow just through contact. It didn't refer to it specifically as in a sexual manner. And in fact, it was a practice that they would have sort of harems of young virgin ladies that these rich old dudes would come to the I don't know, brothel, I guess is the right term. They would go to the brothel and they would put a big down deposit, and the madam would say, okay, you get to sleep with these 5 virgins, but do not have sex with them because that obviously they're not virgins anymore. Yeah. And that kind of screws up my business or whatever. And that was the whole deal, was they had to like sort of sit there and be tempted or whatever. And if they violated the rule, then they would lose their deposit. And so it's an actual practice. And I thought, well, that's fascinating, because infamously Eyes Wide Shut got edited out some of the sexual parts of the ritual orgy scene.
Right.
Which, as I talked about on my show, there's the one clip they took out was during the orgy scene. They use a person as a piece of human furniture, which ties us into a lot of the Wayfair stuff. Whole massive can of worms.
Yeah, I wonder if they're. I mean, I don't know. You might have maybe talked about this on your show, but like, because obviously Hollywood has more recently than that movie came out, but they have a bit of like an image issue related to stuff like this. Like, do you think it was something to literally they were like, hey, we're kind of giving our shit away too much here. Like, we gotta tone it down, like the kind of stuff we're even putting out to the masses, because like this is gonna kind of turn a lens on us.
Yes, I do believe in that. Yes,
you know what I mean, like a Harvey Weinstein or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Not even him specifically, but just people who are generally like,
yeah. I think there's a wide range of people doing things they shouldn't do for a variety of reasons, and I do think there is an occult sort of ritualistic element there, much like Kubrick had underlined in that book.
Yeah. And what about the moon landing with Kubrick? Because I know that's a big
yeah, fascinating stuff. It's possible Stanley Kubrick filmed it. I actually I don't buy into a ton of conspiracy theories wholeheartedly, but I do wholeheartedly believe that we did not put a man on the moon. I do think we've shot things out there. We've even orbited it possibly. But to think that a man landed on the moon and walked around, I really have a hard time with that, given all the strange anomalies.
That is the one, like, the one conspiracy theory that I've become more like warmed up to, I think, as well. In the last few years. It's one of those things where I'm like, if you would have asked me before, like, I'm just like, it's not a 0% chance that happened. That like that they didn't go,
right.
You know, like I used to be like, no, for sure they got, like, oh, I would. And then the more you learn about it with all like the Cold War stuff and like all the stuff that was going on in the world at the time, and you go like, yeah, okay, there's now these incentives in place for all of these actors to actually do this. Like there was an incentive for them to fake it, like they didn't do it for no reason.
Right. And it's always, they always have this sort of greater good argument that they have to lie to us and they have to surveil us and all this. There's always this,
of course, like there's all this stuff, and then you're just like, yeah, and then when you see the technology and all this stuff, and you're like, why haven't they done it again? And then, you know, like you would think the way technology moves, you're like, if they were able to do it then, they should just be able to do it at the snap of a finger now. Like that should be the easiest thing for them to do.
Yeah, it should be simple, right? But
it should be incredibly simple now.
Right. And what gets me is them losing the footage. Like this thing that NASA constantly hangs their hat on of the greatest achievement in all of mankind, in all of history, in all of science, the greatest thing we've ever done. And they dubbed over the VHS tape.
Whoops.
Like it's so insane to me. I don't believe it. I just don't believe them. I think they're so full of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. We got one last caller. 1 sec. Hello. Thanks for calling Low Value Mail. Hello. Caller. Oh, there you go. Hello. Hi. You are on with Isaac. Who am I speaking with?
I want to say, like I was a total globe believer. I grew up. I think the first conspiracy I fell for was, but actually I seen what it was. It was 9/11. But
okay.
But now I look at what NASA says, how fast we're going. Like we're rotating 1,000 miles per hour spin, and we're going 66,600 around the sun, and then the sun's supposedly orbiting the Milky Way at 14,000 miles per hour, and then our galaxy's traveling through space at 3,600,000. Is that priceless or mindless? And then I go out at night. I got this temperature sensor, and I point it up in the sky at night, and it's actually like minus 40 degrees. I don't know how far the laser goes, but I've heard like the blue ice that makes up the firmament is actually cold or something like that. The stuff that they found in Antarctica. But now I look up at the sky. I'm like, there's no way. The only thing between us and space is just gas, air.
Do you have a
And then what's
question?
supposedly up way up there? Like, what's supposed to be way up in there, like the ionosphere and the ozone layer and all that stuff? Remember
Yeah.
they told us that one chemical depleting the ozone layer? And then I guess what I learned, because I always thought like the chemical DDT, that they were just spraying it in people's basements, but I just seen this morning that they were actually spraying it on kids because they thought it was curing polio. I was like, what the hell? It's like everything. I look back, if you search deep enough on the internet, it's like all our history is all lies. Like supposedly the Zionists made a deal with the Nazis. That's why the ZI part is in Nazi, because of the Zionists. Supposedly they were moving the Israelis from like 33 over to Palestine already. And it was all over the Jews not wanting to rebuild Jerusalem before their Antichrist comes or whatever. But here's what's funny about the Catholic Church. Aren't they the ones that made up a lot of the, didn't a Catholic priest make up the Big Bang Theory? And then they gave, Judaism the right to say certain things.
Do you have a question for our guest?
You're for sure getting kicked off YouTube, Danny.
No, he's not even the first. He's not even the first. I'm Jewish. It's fine. They give me a pass, to be honest. I think I get some sort of pass.
All
on
my
this stuff
is crazy, and you gotta look research.
Yeah. But do you have a question for Isaac?
Just when you look up at the sky at night, does it seem like there's nothing between you and space, or does it seem like there's got to be something up there protecting us?
No, I'm with you on this.
Is this a flat Earth thing?
thing?
Is this a flat Earth thing, caller?
Yeah, kind of, sort of, because I feel like there's got to be something protecting us from space. It can't be real.
Space can't be
What tell
real.
us happens up there?
Yeah. So this is a thing.
Oh, I want to also bring up, because you got Isaac Weishaupt in the title. You know a lot about Albert Pike and like the letter he supposedly wrote to that Italian guy about 3 world wars, and it pretty much seems like it's coming true.
Huh.
But is that just part of the psyop to make it come true?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the letter, but the other stuff about space and flat Earth and stuff like that. I spent a lot of time researching the flat Earth thing, and I ended up I sympathize for the people that buy into it, because I get what the perspective is here. I get the perspective of questioning.
They make the best coffee tables. Those people make the absolute best coffee tables.
The flat earthers do.
Have you ever seen those coffee tables? They're fire.
No.
Oh,
no,
man, they're
I
incredible. They're very impressive.
But
I like how they try to make it so ridiculous. It's like, how could you possibly believe that? It took me looking at it for like 7-8 years before I was finally like, there's no way we're going that fast through space.
I don't know how to dispel the flat Earth thing. I've told a story before when I was going to grad school.
Water.
When I was going,
people take pictures like 300 miles away, and
well, look up the Lake Pontchartrain. What do you call it? They're like electrical. I can't think of the name. Electrical towers on Lake Pontchartrain to carry electrical cabling out. You can see the curvature of the Earth with those. That's one example. Another example would be, and this is kind of a fun.
I mean,
thing.
the Earth's not flat.
I actually don't believe the Earth is flat, based on the idea of shooting satellites.
Yeah, well, it's just like there's so many things you go, well, then
geosynchronous
what are all
orbit.
these people doing? Like when Elon Musk is like shooting satellites every day, like what's he doing?
Yeah.
There's just so many things you're like,
Well,
this.
the whole
I mean, it's
thing
the
with
mother of
everyone
all
sent his first
conspiracies,
thing
because
up.
so many people have to be in on this one. Like
Right.
this is like
Yes.
I know like the space one, the moon landing, a lot of people have to be in on that, but way less people. Like every airline pilot on Earth has to be in on this one.
Right.
You
Okay,
know?
when you guys watch the sky where China goes to like Mars and the moon and that, does that look real to you?
I couldn't tell you.
I will say I went to Hawaii a couple of years ago, and we went up to like the top. It was in Maui, and we went up to the top of this like super, like one of the highest points, and it looked like Mars out there. Like I was like, you could shoot a Martian movie out here because it legit looks like the surface of Mars. Like, but
the
that doesn't-
Haleakala?
it was something I don't remember. I think so, but it was like I remember looking at it and being like, holy shit, this looks exactly like Mars. But that doesn't mean that like that stuff's not true. It's just that's both can be true.
I'm gonna throw the caller a bone. I'm gonna throw him because I don't believe in the flat earth thing, but let me tell you something that might make you wonder. You know that
I don't believe it's really flat, but I feel like it's not a globe. It's something that's faster than we are told and everything.
You know that
People
story
become
trending
bigger
on the
than
news
that.
right
Like,
now?
what, they just adding stuff?
You know that story trending on the news about that submarine with the 5 guys in it that it's missing?
Yeah.
They went to look for the Titanic.
Yeah.
Well, the one guy
Yeah,
is
isn't it weird? Because now they're showing the rich guy and him with his controller. Like, this thing
Yes.
wasn't certified.
well, that rich guy, Hamish Harding, he actually was famous because he was a pilot for a flight called One More Orbit, where they broke the Guinness record for flying around. They circumnavigated the globe over the North and South Pole, which, you know, dispels a lot of the flat earthers. So like there's a little fodder for the flat earth conspiracy that the guy who actually like sort of saw all this
apparently did this, and now he's gone missing. All right, thank you, caller. Thanks for calling in. Okay, all right, we're gonna have to wrap this up here. I appreciate you joining me, and I apologize for the technical issues that we had earlier. Let people know where they can find you. Where they can find you.
Thanks for having me on, Danny.
Yeah, thanks for coming. That was fun.
I got a podcast called Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture, available pretty much everywhere. You can go to my website, illuminatiwatcher.com, to find details on the episodes or where you can find me on social media. I got a Instagram. If you go to instagram.com/Isaac Weishaupt, all one word. And like he said, I've written 9 books, and I did the Audible narration for them. So
nice.
Amazon Audible, you can search my name and you can find.
And you're top 5% of authors on Amazon?
I'm up there, baby. I'm up
Yeah.
there. They used to show me stats of where I was, and I can't find that statistic anymore, but I used to be at like the top, whatever percentage. And The Dark Path is my most popular book. If people are like, well, I don't know which book to start with, that's the one to start with, The Dark Path. It goes into aliens, it goes into the occult, the music industry, everything. And it kind of wraps up the whole idea of what's going on. So lots of options for you. But yeah, the podcast is my most popular thing, Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture. Thanks.
All right, awesome. All right, so we're going to start the after show in about 10 minutes. Just head on over to the other link. It's up on my channel now. And come, we're going to watch some videos. We're going to hang out. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks, Isaac. I will see you all, some of you. No bathhouse tomorrow night, but I'll see some of you on the after show, and the rest of you I'll see next week. Have a good night. My shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Fleet blow up, nigga, that just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can feel this hit if you up or if you hurt. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5, got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenal. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comical. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. Ha. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, I'm pulling up fresh on some